Cardfight Vanguard Divines just released its second booster set in Illusionless Strife. In this series, I'll be going over all of the new decks that came out within this set. For this video, I'll be going over the new Dragon Empire deck, Dragconnector. Dragconnector is the new Dragon Empire deck built to make giant numbers and to call out its ride line into the back row every turn. For our ride line, we have Dragritter of Flameblade Gry, which if you have Child Dragon Ghryaundra in Soul, then you don't have to discard to ride into Unison Dragon Ghryaundra. And then Ghryaundra has the same effect if you have Gry in Soul, and you're riding into Dragconnector Ghryaundra. This ride line is really cool because it is your primary engine of the deck, but also you don't have to discard to ride for 2 of the 3 ride-ups, allowing you to preserve pieces or shield in your hand. The primary combo of the ride line is using Ghryaundra to call Gry and Ghryaundra from your soul to the back row. Then when you go to battle phase, you rest Gry to give Ghryaundra plus 10k and the ability to attack from the back row. Then you attack with Ghryaundra first, and after that you use Ghryaundra's skill to put them both into soul to stand it and give your front row plus 10k power. This gives you a 4th attack and a free front trigger every single turn. It's also really nice because since they go into soul, your primary pieces are protected every single turn from retire or bind effects. For our key cards in the deck, we have Artillery Bullet of Duststorm's Xaxis, which gains plus 5k every time you attack with an Ghryaundra or a Gry unit. And at the start of battle phase, you can counterblast one, give one of them plus 5k, and draw a card. So Xaxis helps boost the power of your Vanguard or Ghryaundra to make it a bit more awkward to guard. Usually you give it to Ghryaundra so it swings for 30k on the first swing. And then it itself will gain plus 10k power because the power boost is not once per turn. So it will get plus 5k from Ghryaundra swinging, and then it'll get plus 5k for your Vanguard swinging. And then with the extra power boost from your Vanguard, Xaxis is going to be minimum 33k by itself. And then our other main support card is Melt Knuckle Golem. So whenever it's placed on rearguard and your Vanguard's a grade 3 Gry, then you can Energy Blast 3 and draw. And then like Xaxis, every time an Ghryaundra or Gry unit attacks, it gets plus 5k power. So it's very similar to Xaxis, where it'll be base 30k power by itself, and it also draws a card, but you get to draw that card during main phase, which allows you to draw into potentially another rearguard you can call, unlike Xaxis, which is draw at the start of battle phase. You're also using energy, which is a pretty underused resource in this deck, since our main engine is basically free most of the time, and Xaxis utilizes Counterblast, so Melt Knuckle basically has its energy all to itself. And then the last piece for our huge power turn for this deck is Drag Resonance. Drag Resonance gives the skill to your Vanguard that once per turn whenever it stands, you give your front row plus 10k power. It's a very cool order in this nation because there's a lot of Vanguards that restand in Dragon Empire. In Ghryaundra's case, Drag Resonance makes the numbers a lot harder to guard because we were already hitting 30 and 33 naturally, but with Drag Resonance, we will be breaking 40k, which will force even more cards out of the opponent's hand. None of these numbers are even considering Persona Ride yet. So between Drag Resonance, Persona Ride, and Ghryaundra, we're giving plus 30k power to our front row for essentially free. We also play Justina in the deck as extra searchers for Drag Resonance. For our generics in the deck, we are not playing a Regardless piece. All of them don't really have synergy in here and often clash when we try to play Drag Resonance during our turn. For our overtrigger of choice, of course it's going to be Drag Beta. Drag Beta does have some synergy with Xaxis and Golem because they will gain an extra 5k power from your Vanguard swinging a second time. And then you'll just naturally get the extra card advantage from the extra drive checks and gives you even more chances to sack the opponent. For Mulligan, the primary cards you are looking for are Xaxis and Melt Knuckle Golem. They are the pieces you are needing on turn 3, and any combination of 2 of them is perfect for this deck. And then it's Persona Ride. You usually spend the early game farming cards because you don't have to discard to ride, and you want to take as little damage as possible. But depending on the matchup, it is fine to call down some grade 1s as vanillas to try to push for damage quicker. Once you hit grade 3, your game plan is the exact same the rest of the game. You spam your play with Ghryaundra and Ghryaundra, and just do that over and over again and just beat the opponent down. There is one extra rearguard slot that isn't between Golem, Xaxis, or the ride line, and the ideal card to have in that slot is Ulfa. Ulfa helps this deck a lot because the deck hits really high numbers but doesn't naturally gain any crits. Ulfa, however, fixes that issue by turning one of your big rearguard swings and making it 2 crit. You will naturally be swinging 60k plus sometimes on the rearguard swings doing Persona Ride turns, and giving an additional crit to one of them is very poggers. And here's the full deck list. The other cards we didn't talk about is Falheart being the energy cycler in here. Pretty often you'll actually use the counterblast on it instead of the energy, but it really just depends on what resource you have the most use out of at the moment. Falheart can bring back Ulfa in order to use its skill again on Persona Rad turns. And then we have Madoka and Defending War in here as extra defensive options, since our offensive capabilities are already really good. So making sure we have extra ways to defend attacks early on and later in the game is very important for this deck. If you want to make this deck a bit more budget friendly, here is a budget list for this deck. Essentially, we took out Sanctitude and the energy cyclers. We maxed out Justina and Ulfa, and then we added in 2 Red Exert Dragon. Red Exert Dragon can kind of act as another Zaxxas by being a 23k beater by itself if the opponent hits a trigger. Also, it does have a defensive capability of being a 10k shield if the opponent hit a trigger on their turn. And sometimes it can be a lot bigger if you have an over trigger and drop that you can remove to give it plus 15k power as well. Dragconnector is a very solid, cheaper deck that has a ton of flexibility in its deck building since the core engine is so small and it's so cheap. And that is it. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. I'll see you guys in the next one.